and welcome to Sit and Knit for a Bit. I'm your host, Melissa. You can find me on Ravelry at Aurora Evermore, and I'm also, I guess, on Facebook at Sit and Knit for a Bit. It's a Facebook page I started long ago, but it just got a little too much for me to handle, and I decided to hand off the adminship, I guess you can call, to somebody else. So actually, a few people took it upon themselves to take over, and they are doing a wonderful job. But anyway, I want to show you. Look what I'm wearing. This is the Enchantment Under the Sea shawl that I finished. Started a little bit before my trip, and then finished it literally last night. Like, I only had like maybe 2 hours left of work. Not even that. Maybe that plus blocking, I guess. But I will talk about my trip at the end. That way, if you don't want to hear about it, you can stop watching the video. So I'll talk about the knitting and stuff like that first. I am so excited to be here and talking to you guys. I've been dying to podcast, but I wanted to make sure I finished this first. And in fact, I've only been back for a couple days, so I'm doing pretty well in my timing. I did do a quick little, I think it was like less than 9-minute video while I was on my trip, just to give you a quick little update. I couldn't believe how short it was. It felt like I was talking for at least 30 minutes. But yeah, at least you got a little bit of an update while I was on my vacation. I'm stirring my tea. I am drinking today oolong tea. To me, if you drink Earl Grey, it's like a little bit more subtle Earl Grey flavor, which can be, I believe it's a black tea. I don't know much about tea. I should get better. I'm hoping maybe in the fall I'll get better at drinking and knowing teas, and I want to start trying new teas. I'm trying to get through all the teas I have right now, and then maybe start really trying some new ones, maybe some bigger flavor loose leaf teas and stuff like that. So if you guys have any suggestions of any teas, let me know. I don't really like hot peach or pomegranate tea, but I love lemon, and I don't add any cream or sugar to my tea, so hopefully not too bitter. But anyway, that is the tea I'm hoping to drink. I haven't had this tea in a while, but I really don't remember what it tastes like. So I just remember saying, hey, it kind of is like a lighter version of Earl Grey, which I haven't had that in a while either, so. It's good. It's tea. It's just a basic tea. Okay, so I first want to talk about the Enchantment Under the Sea shawl because it's 110 degrees outside and it's hot. So I want to talk about it and take it off and not wear it for the rest of the time. So I have finished it. So this is me wearing it. Isn't it beautiful in all its wonderful glory? If you've been following, I created the pattern myself. I used most of one skein of sock yarn, and I have this much left, which I have not weighed it, so I don't know how much I have left. But it's a very nice lightweight shawl. I'm actually kind of calling it a shawlette, if that's a word. And this is perfect for where I live. It's nice and small, so it's not too heavy and too hot. In fact, I barely feel that I'm wearing it, so that's really good. I'm going to give you guys a close-up. And once again, of course, the lighting is that's a little bit better. I blocked it like crazy. I tried to stretch it out because I wanted it longer. That way I could wrap it around my neck. There is some blue sparkles in here. I don't know if they're really showing up in the video. They're pretty subtle. They're just some like silvery sparkles. Let's see if I back up and kind of show you how long it is. It actually came out the perfect length and size that I was looking for. I am very, very, very happy with it. The yarn is Twisted Owl Fiber Studio in Longview, Texas. And it's a 2-ply sparkle gold, I guess it is gold, not silver sparkles, called Goblin King. Sorry, the iPad is backwards today. Trying to just while I'm setting up, it just seemed to work better backwards. So it's a little odd for me. And once again, I have the pot in front of it, so I'm kind of like leaning over here and trying to remember to stare at the actual camera itself, which is that little tiny dot instead of the screen where I am. I don't know if you guys can tell the difference. I mainly want to talk about my construction of this shawl because I did not use an actual pattern, and I know I kind of mentioned how I did it before, and it should be on Ravelry, which I need to get a picture of this. I was waiting for daylight because it finished blocking last night, and I just don't have good lighting in my house, and I was hoping for some sunlight to get a good picture of it. So I need to do that and then finish in my Ravelry. But for those, you know, that really want to know how to knit it, it is curling a little bit up there, but that's okay. How to knit it exactly. It was pretty simple. It is a corner-to-corner triangle shawl. I guess that's what I call it. Cast on 3 stitches, and then on the right side, the front-facing side, you're going to increase 1 stitch before the end. So on your second to last stitch at the end of the front of the row, increase. And I did that until I had 15 stitches total. So I started off with 3 and then slowly increase every other row in stockinette stitch, in garter stitch, until there's 15 stitches. I kept 5 stitches on each end as garter stitch to help prevent some curling. There is a little bit, if you can kind of see, kind of is folding right there. Not necessarily curling, just a fold. I was hoping that when I blocked it out that would not happen, but it is happening. And once again, I'm okay with it because once I wear it, it's all going to be scrunched up anyway, so it's not going to really make any difference. So then after you get the 15 stitches, then I started where I did 5 stitches garter. Once again, always keep that 5-stitch garter border on each side. And then I started with the stockinette in the inside, which is where you knit on the front side and purl on the back side. I did that for technically 9 rows. 9 or 10, just whatever works better. And then I considered 2 rows, which is really 8, the wonderful sun. I'm sorry. 8 rows of garter, which caused it to have 4 rows of the bumps, which you can see here, okay? And then I did 9 rows of stockinette, and then 8 rows of garter, which caused the 4 rows of bump, and so on and so forth. I had measured out I halved my yarn to where I had two blue balls. My first ball, I wanted it to be less because I wanted to make sure I had enough, and I always like to add a little bit of yarn to my Cozy Memory blanket shawl, and I'm hoping another project, a little scrappy yarn project later. But anyway, I always wanted to make sure that I have enough, and I didn't want a big shawl. I live in Texas, it's hot. I don't need to be knitting big shawls, so I wanted a small, and ended up being exactly the size I wanted, so I'm super happy. Anyway, so I did that until I ran out of the first ball, which ended up, my little video from my vacation, I knew it was getting close, and I was kind of getting in the middle of this garter stitch, and I was like, it'd be really nice for it to be nice and even instead of wonky. It is off by like 1 row. I probably should have started to decrease on the back side of the row, on the wrong side, but it just, I was increasing on the right side and thought I would decrease on the wrong side, and so I went with that, and so it's like 1 row off, but it's okay. So anyway, when I knew I was getting close, I was just paying attention. I was like, well, it'd be really nice to have it where it's split down, either this, a garter stitch row or a stockinette. It didn't matter to me. I just wanted it split even. And it ended up being perfect, and I don't even know, yeah, you can find right here. It literally, I was this much away from my first decrease. So what I did is I knit until I ran out, then started my decreases. It was the perfect. I want to tell you, I think this is my first project where there's not a single mistake. There's not a single mistake. I was really good. I mean, I made some mistakes, but I backed them out and made it, fixed it. There's not a single spot where there's too many garters stuck in a stitch rows or anything like that. It actually ended up being perfect on the last rows of garter, which I did garter until I had 15 stitches. So I started the garter again when I had 15 left. So that way it was nice and even and symmetrical. Beautiful. One of my favorite, definitely my new project, one of my favorite projects. So super happy. Ugh. It's so soft. I just want to make it again. I really enjoyed making this. I had kind of come up with the idea for it from another pattern, and I've talked about this before, and it just had mostly the same look, a couple different variations. I think the garter stitch section changed on the quantity, and I didn't do that because I was camping and I wanted to keep it simple. And so for me, it came out with the same look for the most part, and that pattern it was written really weird. Weirder than it needed to be, and it just was really confusing. And not saying it was going to be impossible to do or it was a horrible pattern, but once again, I was going to be camping and on the road, and I didn't want something that was hard. I needed something that was simple, and this was what it was. So loved it. Perfect on the road project. I did work on it a little bit in the car up until it got dark. I kept having the problem where I was off on my row count. I wasn't paying attention enough, where when I needed to start doing the garter, I wasn't. And so I had to keep backtracking. And backtracking in the dark in the car was not working. And so I finally just put it aside and worked on another project, which I will talk about in a little bit, which is the socks. But first, this is actually kind of cute this way. But first, I want to talk about my cable cardigan. 2 episodes ago, so the one right before my camping trip, I talked about it and told you I finished it. And I did, and I love it. And I took it on my camping trip, and I wore it in the car while my brother had the AC blowing. And it was great. It was very comfortable and everything. And the main thing I want to talk about is I ended up, after my last two videos ago, I ended up blocking it. I kind of mentioned that it was a little tight, and I was like, oh, whatever, it's fine. Well, I sat there and thought about it for a couple days before the trip, and I was like, oh, I should just go ahead and block it and stretch it out. I usually don't block garments, which is kind of stupid of me. I just kind of get lazy, just like, oh, this is what it is. I finally finished knitting it. Why bother to continue? And anyway, so I was like, I'm just going to block it. And so I got it wet and blocked it. And I didn't stretch it to its full capacity. Definitely didn't want to do that. I didn't want it huge. And I told myself I'll block a little bit of it, and if I need to block it again, I could block it again. But once I've stretched it out, I didn't want it to be too big. I could always stretch it more as opposed to trying to unstretch it. So I really just stretched like the back panel. Not too much, just a little bit, and it ended up being perfect. So I'll try that on real quick, not for very long, I'll tell you that, because it is warm. Let me take off my rings because, at least that one, it catches on the yarn and I don't want to snag my beautiful cable cardigan. I'll stand up again for this. It was so nice wearing it. The trip we were warm on the trip, so I didn't really wear it while there. But see, made it a lot better. I could definitely block it more if I feel like I needed to, but like I said, I don't normally button things. I leave them open. Oh my god, it's so hot. So I just kind of blocked the back, and I didn't really block the front. So I figured if I needed to block it again, I could stretch the front panels. The sleeves are fine. They're nice and airy and roomy. So no problem there. And I know over time it'll slowly kind of stretch itself out as I'm using it and pulling on it. But it was perfect. The collar did not bother me. I have a problem with stuff, of course, because I knit shawls. I can't stand things being on my neck. Go figure. But the collar did not bother me at all. So, sorry, it's just so hot. Can't wear that. Let me set it over there. Okay. So anyway, now that you've seen me get dressed and undressed here, so I just want to show that again, saying that I did go ahead and block a little bit of it, not a whole bunch. The next thing I want to talk about is something amazing. I don't know if I mentioned, but right before my trip, I got hired to do some cat sitting for a lady I always cat sit for, and she does some sewing. And I walked in the first day, and near the instruction note was this beautiful sewn bag, and I was like, please let it be for me, please let it be for me. And sure enough, it was. This lady doesn't know anything about me, like not like what my favorite colors are or anything, and if you know me, you know I love blues. Isn't this the most perfect project bag? I love it. It's a drawstring bag, but you know, it has holes, so it's perfect if you want to string your yarn through here, you know, and pull on it. It's just amazing. And once again, she had no idea what my taste would be. And I will tell you, if there was, like, if I was at a store and there was 50 different types of these, different colors and what patterns, I probably would choose this one out of all the other ones. The only way I would choose something else is if it was like a purple or bees or something, but I mean, I have a lot of those. So I'm just thrilled. And of course there was a note saying, you know, I'm sewing drawstring bags. I thought you would like one. I hope you can use it on your trip, because you know I was going on a trip. I so did. It ended up being my main knitting bag for my trip. It went well with the shawl color. It was big enough to host all the other projects in here while traveling. Just pure amazing, perfect. I love her. I had, not last summer or last Christmas, but the Christmas before, I was making washcloths, and I had made her a bunch, so I don't feel super horrible that I owe her one, but I feel like I do. Like, it's my turn to make her something, and I'm thinking about doing like wrist warmers, just a basic pair, maybe like a ribbed pair, because she is a smaller person, but once again, I don't really know her. I go to her house when she's not there. So I was thinking just a basic ribbed, I haven't figured out what color yet, wrist warmers for her for Christmas or something like that. So I don't know, that's kind of what I'm thinking of, and kind of just to repay her for this and to be one up on her. So there is pretty much only one other thing knitting related that I want to talk about, and that would be the socks that I took on my trip, which is the project I worked on when we were in the car when it was dark, and then walking around on the grounds of my vacation trip. And I got one done. Okay, yes, I still have this, but I don't weave in the ends until I have the second one done. But anyway, I got one done. Isn't it cute? Just a standard, one of my standard socks. Nothing too fabulous on the pattern. The toe increase, the knit here increase, make the heel. I did do shorter here, and that's because of this timing. I wanted to get this finished. I had a moment where I had a couple hours of sitting at the camp, but later that evening I needed something. I can't remember which night it was, but I needed something that I didn't have to look at. So I didn't want to do the shawl. I needed to do just straight stocking knit. And so I was like, you know what? I was kind of thinking about doing some shorties anyway. No, these are not super short, but they are a little bit shorter. I think they're half an inch shorter than my normal. I'd have to get out a measuring tape. but yes. I can talk about the pattern. Oh, here, I'll show you. I'm going to work on these while I talk about my vacation. And I did start the second sock already. There we go. I'll get it all unscrunched. So, and I didn't get a whole lot of this done on, on the grounds because I think I finished this sock Friday or Saturday. And so I pretty much only worked on, I don't remember. It all jumbles together. So I think I only worked on this like one day on the grounds, and then the rest was while I was in the car. So anyway, second sock. But, looking for the yarn. There it is. Big skein of yarn. I loosely did that, so it's huge. yarnloveyarn.com, and it's Marie, and yeah, I'm not gonna pronounce that. Colorway Midnight in Paris. I was gonna say Antoinette, but I don't think maybe that's how you do pronounce it. I don't know. Sorry. I have a cricket in here. So, working on that, trying to get them done. It's probably going to kind of be put on the back burner now. I am in desperate need to get my temperature blanket back up to current. I'm about 2.5 to 3 weeks behind. I did not get caught up before I went on my trip. So that's what I'm working on like crazy, trying to get that caught up. So this is probably going to be if I get a chance to walk the dogs if it's not too hot, or when I go back into hiking or something like that. But until then, it's probably just going to sit here. So not much progress on those. I will get them done eventually. I haven't done anything on the other shawl, which was my backup shawl. This was probably going to be the one that while I'm at breakfast with the girls or getting my toes done, this is probably the project I'm going to pull, and take with me. Or from my parents' house, something that needs small. But I do have a chance to look at it. I'm going to be working on this one. So I literally don't think I touched this at all, which is fine because it was only there as a backup in case I finished the blue one early, which I got pretty close to that. That way I wasn't going, oh man, I have nothing to knit. And so that's what this was. So just fine with that. Whew. But yes. Cable cardigan blocked and worn. And then Enchantment of the Sea shawl finished and blocked. Just need to get a picture and finish that on Ravelry, and then one sock done plus a little bit of extra. So yeah, that's it for actual knitting. I'm not going to talk about my vacation yet, just a couple little tidbits of other stuff. So if you only want to hear about the knitting, go ahead and sign off, and I'll see you guys next time. If not, I'm going to get into a little bit of booky stuff. I started a new novel, reading a new novel. I need to get back into writing, but you can't write and knit at the same time, so that's not going to happen anytime soon. Got great ideas up in here, it's just not going to happen. Anyway, I kind of mentioned that I want to get back into hiking. I did a lot of walking on my trip and felt pretty good about it, and so I'm like, oh, hiking's going to be a breeze. Just waiting for the weather. It's 109 again today, or 110, whichever you want to put it. So I figure, I don't know. In the meantime, I could read a book about hiking. So I picked up this book on my trip. I did not bring a book on on my trip, I never do a lot of reading, so I just like didn't stress about trying to, figure out a book to bring. But I ended up buying this. We went to a bookstore. Waking Up on the Appalachian Trail. I literally started it last night, so I'm not too far into it. It's about a guy who was in the U.S. Army, and he was in Iraq, and he came home and he's like, what was that war about? Like, why? And he felt really let down. And so I guess him and his brother, once again, I haven't even gotten close to finishing reading this, him and his brother take it upon themselves to hike the Appalachian Trail. I don't know if they'd hike the whole thing. I'll find out. It sounds like it's more of his idea. So this is supposed to be a memoir. And B. Hanks. And I think he drags his brother along with him. So once again, I'm on page 5. Yeah. So I literally started this last night and then fell asleep. Not saying it was a bad book, I just was tired. So far so good. I think it'll be quick. The font's pretty big. And so I think it'll be quick. And so far I do like the I call it the voice, even though you don't really hear them, but just the writing style. It seems pretty good. And that's a big determinant of me whether I'm going to like the book or not. If I don't like the writing style, if it's hard to understand or something like that, then I just don't enjoy it. And I think this is going to be a good one. So with that being said, for a few months now, I've been thinking about listening to Harry Potter audiobook again. By the way, it's Harry Potter's birthday today, I guess, so maybe today would be a good day to start that audiobook series again. I love it. I know I'm going to enjoy it again. I'm afraid if I keep listening to it that I should be knitting while I'm talking, that I will get sick of it. And I don't want that to happen. You ever done that where you just watched a movie so many times that you're just like, okay, well, I've seen it so many times, I don't need to see it again, even though it was a really good movie. I'm afraid that that's going to happen. And I don't want that to happen. Like I said, for a few months I've been thinking about listening to it again, but I've been putting it off because I don't want to get sick of it. But at the same time, I don't want to listen to anything else. I literally have not listened to any audiobook. I start one and I'm just like, whatever. And when I'm done listening to it for that period of time, I never get back to it. And I've been kind of in a funk. I think it has to do with that I don't drive as much as I used to, so I don't really need to listen to an audiobook. Like, I don't have as much time. I don't know. It's just weird. Like, and when I do, I used to listen while I was like cleaning the house and mowing, and now I'm just like, oh, I'll just listen to my music. Well, I don't know. I really need to get back into listening to audiobooks. And if it's Harry Potter again, fine, it's Harry Potter again. It's good enough. I will tell you, it's been a long time since I watched the movies. I've listened to the books maybe 3 times now since last time I watched the movies. And that's fine by me. I actually enjoy the books more than I enjoy the movies. I'm going to put this on the floor because the angle is wrong. And so yeah. We listen to Harry Potter again. And it's about time. It's about school, about to get back into school. So it'll be good to listen to it. I don't know. I need something I enjoy just as much as Harry Potter, but I haven't listened to it yet. And that's hard to find. I'm a picky person, apparently. So anyway, I think that's about it. Oh, and if you want to know how TV wise, I've been rewatching CSI, the original, so Las Vegas. I think I just started season, I have no idea, 5 or 6. I don't know. I've seen them so many times. Unfortunately, I'm getting sick of it. The episode starts. I'm like, oh, that's this one, and I'm like, dang it. But I don't have regular TV, so it's literally DVDs if I want to watch anything that's not on my phone. So I don't have a lot to choose from. So I keep rewatching the same stuff, which is fine. It's fine. I have a horrible memory, so I do, it's not too bad for me to rewatch things. Hold on. splitting hairs here. There we go. All right, well, now that it's been 30 minutes, I guess I will talk about my trip. So if you don't want to hear about my trip, definitely sign off now, because that's all that's going to be left over from here on out until the next episode. All right, so my trip. Let me move this fan into the shade so it's blowing cold air on me. The trip was good. It was short. It seems like it gets shorter every time. And it didn't help that I was, I guess, a day later than normal. Plus, we left a little earlier. So, anyway, I had a great time. The weather was okay. It was humid, so it was hot. You know, I said it was going to be colder. Definitely was colder than it was than here in Texas. There was only one day that it was just so hot that I was like, okay, I have to sit in the AC. And so I ended up sitting in my parents' RV during the hottest part of the day, just for a few hours, just to cool off. Actually, that was the day that I podcasted. I actually hopped outside real quick. I was going to podcast inside the RV, but my brother came in. I was like, I can't talk to a screen with my brother sitting right by me. It's just weird. So I quickly ran outside, did a quick video, and ran back inside. It's probably why it was only like 8 minutes long, because it was so freaking hot that day. But anyway, volunteered most days, just a couple hours each day. Had a blast. Got to see some of my same friends that we see every year. They were all doing wonderful. We were all happy to see each other, and can't wait until next year. Obviously, I got a lot of knitting done. It was good. We had a couple days or a couple times. Sorry, I'm looking at a little fuzz over there. We had a few storms, nothing too crazy. Actually, the first storm was the craziest, and that hit about an hour after we arrived. One of my cats is in here. She almost knocked something over. Anyway, so that was fine. Nothing too crazy. My dog Olive did wonderful. She was a very good dog. She only had a problem where we would lock them in the RV when we went onto the grounds. I know that doesn't make any sense to anybody. So there's like the camping area where the dogs are allowed, and then like what we call the on the grounds, which is inside the actual gates and everything. And non-service dogs are allowed there, or not allowed there, and so she can't come with. So anyway, so we lock them in the RV. And she kept sitting in like the driver's seat, and then there was one time where she actually was standing on like the dashboard. My parents have a huge Class A RV, so if you know those, they look like a bus in the front kind of, and they have a huge wide dashboard. And yeah, we came back to the camp, and there she was staring out the window looking at us, standing on there. My dad was not happy with that. So from then on, I put all my mom's shopping stuff up on there to kind of just like block it. And I don't think she went back on there. It was only one other time that she needed to be up there, and I don't think there was any issue. But yeah, did well. I did do a little bit of training with her while we were there, and she was pretty good. I didn't really teach her anything new. It was just so hot, and to train her, we had to be out in the shade area, and so I didn't get a whole bunch done. Plus, I wanted to knit. The night air shows are pretty good. There's always fireworks. The Saturday night air show, which was the last one. In fact, we left right after that instead of the next morning. The fireworks were a little messed up. I think like some of the wires weren't hooked up or something, so that took a little bit longer. And it was fine. We finally did get to see everything. Some strange people. Listen to somebody singing about bathroom stuff while in the bathroom. I was sitting in a porta potty, and a couple porta potties down, there's like a row of porta potties. Someone's just singing. What the heck? Sat by a couple strangers while eating lunch. There is some areas where there's like little tables and chairs with umbrellas. But they had like record-breaking attendance this year, like a huge amount. And so you ended up like sharing tables with strangers, And the first couple of days, we ran into some strange people. So that kept things interesting. There was some pretty interesting people there. But yeah, just woke up at like 6 or 7 in the morning, got up, had breakfast, sat around and knitted, and then I would go in a little early onto the grounds and do some, looking around, some shopping and whatnot. Then I would go to work for 2 hours, and I would get off, and I would either go to some more looking at stuff, or there were some forums I went to, which is just listening to people talk on a stage. I'm really into space and NASA and stuff as opposed to airplanes. And so I was like, you know what, this year I'm going to really focus on that, especially since NASA is really ramping up their Artemis program, which is them going back to the moon. And I can't wait to be part, at least watch it happen in my lifetime. And they've already done the mission 1, which is an unmanned mission. They just sent up the rocket, and I think they orbited the moon and then came back. I actually didn't really know much about it until this, this trip. Their next one, Artemis 2, they're gonna actually have people, astronauts, in the rocket, and I think they're gonna still only orbit the moon, but it's gonna be like a long orbit. I think they're gonna do a couple passes. And then Artemis 3, they're going to land on the moon and do some scientific stuff and stay up there for a while. And the whole objective of this is what you learn in a form while knitting socks, by the way. That's what I was listening to while doing the heel of this one, if you remember my vacation video. But anyway, all of this Artemis stuff is to get geared towards trying to go to Mars. They're going to use the moon as like a gas stop or whatever. Go to the moon first and then go to Mars from there, so it's not as long of a trip, I guess. So those were interesting. Went to a couple of those, but after a while they started kind of just saying the same things. Got to see, not really meet some actual astronauts. I'm horrible with names, but saw one of the older astronauts who actually was on the moon. I was gonna say the Mars, on the Mars. Yeah, what do they call it? The moon, but it's Mars. It's interesting. But anyway, so it was kind of cool. Yeah, nothing too crazy. Oh, there was the Women in Aviation Ice Cream Social. It was our first year attending that. I think last year was the first time I heard of it, but of course by that point it was too late to sign up. And so I had signed up for us to go, I think back in May, and it was wonderful. It was better than I thought. My brother and I, we were talking about like, oh, I wonder what it's going to be like. And I was like, well, maybe it's just going to be like a cone of soft-served ice cream. And he's like, I bet you it's those little cups with the wooden spoon. And I was like, you know what, it might be actually one of those, because this thing's free. So I'm like, they don't want to spend a whole bunch of money. Oh, they had a huge spread. They had 3 different kinds of ice cream, which they had run out of one before I got to it, so I didn't know. Anyway. And then bowls of all these different kinds of toppings. They had chocolate chips, they had crushed Oreos, they had M&Ms, sprinkles, oh god, all different kinds of nuts, cherries, strawberries, all the different kinds of like syrup you can pour on. I mean, you name it. I think the only thing they didn't have was whipped cream, literally. They had everything else, which is fine. And so that was good. And you made it yourself. You could pile on as much as you want. It was hilarious. So I made it really good. More like a Reese's ice cream, which is one of my favorites, with cherries on top. It was really good. In fact, that sounds really good right now. Wish I had another one. The photo was good. I got there early and kind of got in the front, so I was like a couple rows back. So you can kind of actually see me in the photo. I'm pretty blurry by the time you zoom in, but I am there. I'm trying to think. I think that's about it. Nothing. I mean, it was just a standard vacation. It just flew by so fast, though. Oh. Yeah. I'm still like reeling and like getting back used to being here. And sorry, someone's driving down the street, so of course my dogs are gonna bark at that person. They're already gone. Anyway, the first night back, I laid down in bed. I'm like, this is my bedroom. The walls don't move in the breeze. This is weird. But yeah, I guess I will let you guys go. I have really nothing else to talk about this time. Just gonna get some pictures of that shawl and update it on my Ravelry and post about it on Facebook. So yeah, and get back into my temperature blanket. Oh my god, I've got to get that done, but it's just so hot and that thing is so big. I do lay it like on the table next to me, but you still have to have a good portion of it in your lap because you have to turn it back and forth. I do put my little fan on me, but it's just so I just need to crunch through it. I tried to get a little bit done last night after I finished the Enchantment of the Sea shawl, but I just couldn't get into it. So tonight I'm gonna get a bunch done. I've got to get that cut up, because once I get that cut up, I can work on some other stuff as well. I really need to. I got a sweater I gotta finish. I've got a couple blankets I've barely started. I need to work on. Ugh. So much to do, so little time, and school starts in like 3 weeks. Luckily, I'm only taking one class, so it shouldn't be too bad of a semester. I have to figure out what project to take with me in class. I need to finish my sister's shawl. That was the one I was working on in class. I guess I'll work on that again in class. Love you, sis. Someday I'll get that finished. Maybe for Christmas. Yeah, maybe by Christmas. Anyway. Alright, guys. You guys have a wonderful day.